Before the story begins, I just want to say thank you for over 200 subscribers. It means a lot to me, each and every one of you all. Anyways, I hope you enjoy. Remember it still like it was yesterday, and the guilt still eats me alive. I was 13 years old and living in nowhere, North Carolina. Me and a few neighborhood kids would ride around on our bikes and get into all sorts of mischief. The year was 1979. Old Lady Belle would often sometimes sit on the front porch of her old mill house and smoke Marlboro Reds. She seemed to mind herself. It seemed like she was always eating muscadines though. I always heard that the muscadines were the kids she captured. Johnny stared off from afar. I heard she's a witch, Sally said. Meanwhile, Old Lady Belle popped another muscadine in her mouth. Bobby pulled out a bag of chew that belonged to his dad. So, is her house the one tonight? We need to go buy some eggs. I stared off at the house and seen where plant vines and overgrown weeds were slowly taking over. A wind gust blew and made her chimes ring. Sally spoke up. Maybe we can throw some toilet paper over her trees too. Richard, pay attention. I spoke up. I thought if witches ate a kid, it would make them young again. But she's just old and creepy. Bobby spits on the ground and laughs. I bet she crossed the Red Seas with Moses. We took off on our bikes and decided that her house was the one to suffer from our shenanigans tonight. We all snuck out of our homes and met near her home at a gas station that was closed for the night. Johnny pulled a bag out of his backpack, and the smell made me gag. Check it out. Dog shit. I scooped some of it and got it. Figure it might be funnier than throwing a few eggs. I brought my lighter too. I spoke up. I don't know if we should do all that. She might be too old to get up and her house might catch on fire. Don't be a wimp, Sally spoke up. We all walked by the bushes near her house. Johnny ran up to her porch and lit the bag. He knocked on her door and ran like a bat out of hell. He tripped in her yard as soon as she opened the door. She let out a wicked scream and began to stomp on the bag. You damn hooligans. I see you all and you will pay. She sounded so evil when she said it. Johnny caught up to us and we all took off on our bikes. They all began laughing and we split off on the way home. I crawled back through my window and threw the blanket over my head. I didn't get much sleep that night. I walked in my kitchen the next morning and poured myself some cereal where my mom asked what happened last night. I tried to come up with a lie and she stopped me. The police came by this morning and said Miss Bell caught you and your friends vandalizing her property. Mom, she's not pressing charges, but she requested that you and the others go do some yard work for her. I'm so disappointed that you would do this. Mom, listen, don't you talk when I am. I've already talked with the other parents and we think it's a good idea. So you are going to go there right after breakfast. I didn't have much of a choice. I rode my bike over there to see the gang were already pulling up weeds. Old Lady Belle was sitting on the porch with a lit cigarette. There you are. I have a lawnmower sitting right there, and I need you to mow. I spoke up. I'm very sorry for what we did, honestly. She put her hands up. Get to mowing. Her yard was pretty big. I made sure to be careful mowing not to destroy her flower beds or hit any of the trinkets. I stopped when I heard the blades tearing up something. I bent down and looked at a tiny piece of bone. I didn't think she owned a dog. "Lemonade," she said. She sat a few glasses on the porch. I was soaking in sweat and was so thirsty. "You kids deserve a small break before we get to the housework." We all ran up to the porch and grabbed a glass. I chugged it as if I haven't had anything to drink in days. She popped another muscadine in her mouth and spit out the peel. Sally fell over all of a sudden. Old Lady Belle looked like it didn't concern her. Bobby bent down real quickly to check on her. He dropped on top of her. Old Lady Belle coughed up some smoke and let out a cackle. Johnny took off running and fell as soon as he hit the bottom step. She looked at me and started to stand as I fell. I woke up and I heard Sally crying. My eyes were still drowsy as I noticed we all were tied up in her living room. She blew some smoke and was cackling. The others began to open their eyes. "You better all stay on your knees. You think you're the first people to try to harass me? Oh no, no, no." A black cat appeared and was rubbing itself against Johnny and began to purr. Sally spoke through her tears. "I promise if you let us go, we won't tell anyone." Old Lady Belle let out another cackle. "I'm afraid it's too late for that, my dear." She stood up and walked over to the cauldron in the middle of the room. She began to stare at it. "Besides, it's about time for a new start again." "I'm the one who lit the bag," Johnny spoke up. "Let them go. They didn't do it." "One bad apple spoils the bunch," she replies. Bobby had tears in his eyes. "Are you going to turn us into muscadines and eat us?" "Muscadines? No." She walked up to Johnny and forced his mouth open. She pulled a small bottle out of her pocket and forced it down his throat. "Run!" he screamed. Our hands were behind our back. We got ourselves up and ran on our feet and tried to escape. She grabbed Bobby by the ankles and knocked him down. "You damn hooligans." She pulled out a knife and plunged it into his back. Johnny turned his body to open the door with his hand. She drove the knife into Bobby several more times. She got up and chased us, but we were faster. We ran to Sally's home, where her dad was outside tinkering with his car. He quickly cut the ropes off of us and listened to what we had to say. He got us inside where her mom was knitting and told us to stay put. He called Bobby's dad. We heard that a bunch of the neighborhood parents went over to confront her. They said that a young lady was on the porch and was laughing. She said they would never see Bobby again. They said Bobby's dad fired a rifle at her and it hit her in the stomach. She managed to get back into her house. The cops came and quickly busted in. They found no trace of her or Bobby besides what was left in the cauldron. Some of the parents burned down her house later that week, and the rumor was bright green smoke was coming out of the window. No one could prove who did it though. My parents did what they thought was best. They put up the house for sale and we moved away. A bunch of other families began to do the same. Johnny ended up being put into a mental institution. They said he went crazy and became a danger to himself and others. To my knowledge, he is still there to this day. I didn't really keep up with Sally. I know her family moved to Florida after everything. I tried looking her up on Facebook recently and didn't find anything. Then again, it's better she stay part of the past. We moved a few hours away to a nicer area. Once I got out of college, I moved to California, where I met my wife. We have 3 beautiful children and 2 grandkids now. I try my best to push this all out of my memory and to forgive myself. I have plenty of nightmares and always wonder if old Lady Belle was ever around me. My wife just got back from the beauty salon, and her hair looked gorgeous. She reached out and handed me a coffee. There's a new girl at the salon. She says she's new to the area and from North Carolina. We got to talking and she said that she knew you. Is it Sally? We were childhood friends. I haven't heard from her since I was a youngster. No, I don't believe that was it. Her name was Margaret, I think. Margaret Bell. She said she would like you to come visit her one day. She sure was chewing on some muscadines right before she cut my hair. I dropped my coffee cup, and the memories came back.